you believe that the 23% small business contracting goal should be raised? Ms. Halmer?
I say go ahead and raise it, but let's look at, is a goal sufficient, or should it be a requirement? Because by just having a goal, they strive to reach the goal, but if they don't reach the goal, nothing happens to them.
Mr. Brown.
Thank you for the question, Madam Chairwoman. I would concur with Ms. Hilmer in the sense that it's been 10 years since Public Law 10650 was passed for small disabled veteran-owned small businesses, and we're only 2% there. So I think if it was raised, we could potentially look at expanding small business opportunities for veteran-owned businesses, but we would like to get to 3% first. Thank you.
Mr. Sproul.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I don't think there should be a goal at all, because too often goals become ceilings. You know, I think it's much better that the government work to unwind the maze of laws and regulations that make it so difficult for small businesses to compete on a level playing field, and open up opportunity for businesses to to earn the government contracts on their own.
Mr. Dallinger.
Yes, as I explained in my testimony, we believe the goal should be substantially increased. There's no reason for the large businesses to be receiving 3/4 of the federal contracting dollar, especially when small businesses have demonstrated the ability to perform larger, more significant contracts. Thank you.
Yes, I believe the goal should be increased. However, I believe that we need to strive for more efforts to enforce the goal as the Department of Defense continues to get away with not reaching the goal and displacing our businesses.
Thank you. Mr. Woods.
In our industry, we would prefer that the contracting goals be based on dollars, not percentage of what is subcontracted out, because what often happens is the contract may be worth $10 million, but they only subcontract out $100,000 to all of the small firms. There's really nothing there. But if we did it on the basis of dollars, much like the Metropolitan Washington Airport Authority, I think the goal might become meaningless.
Okay.
Thank
you. Based on the testimony that we heard today, it is clear that contract bundling continues to be a major obstacle for small firms. So I asked for any of the members of the panel, if you could make one suggestion for addressing contract bundling, what would it be? Ms. Gentile.
I believe that there needs to be something written into the Defense Authorization Bill to totally displace contract bundling. It's not worked. We've never, when you team with people, it doesn't work. The rules aren't enforced by it, and they continually to get away with renaming it so that it doesn't become a bundle.
Mr. Woods.
We would prefer that rather than bundling, that we increase the number and the training of procurement professionals in the government, because part of the reason that bundling occurs is that they don't have sufficient resources or the time to write all of the contracts that would be necessary if they didn't bundle.
Mr. Dallinger.
Despite all the committee's good efforts with respect to controlling bundling, it really hasn't happened yet. Bundling continues apace. We don't think we don't have the ability to control it. If bundling is going to continue to take place, one of the things that we can do is require agencies that are bundling large contracts to set aside for competition among small businesses 23% of that large bundled contract. So every large bundled contract would have a small business component that would ensure small business involvement.
Mr. Sproul.
If bundling is something that's likely to continue, I think the way that it has gone about should be changed so that it's viewed from a much higher level, with an intent of focusing on the impact on the industrial base for any contracts that are selected for bundling, and if there's not a valid reason for doing so, to not put random contracts together, such that it freezes small companies out of the market.
Okay. We also heard a lot of issues with subcontracting goals. Mr. Woods, can you elaborate on why this is such a problem for firms such as yours?
Well, as a small firm, quite frankly, we don't care in our industry whether we are prime or the subcontractor. What we're looking for is a fair and reasonable amount of the work and an opportunity to perform.
Okay. Some of you have raised the issue of the 3% withholding requirement, and I just would like to hear each one of you to just give me a yes or no answer. I would like to ask you if you think that this requirement should be repealed before it goes into effect. Mr. Woods?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, and I'd like to enter for the record a letter from the Government Withholding Relief Coalition about this issue.
Okay. Without objection, so ordered. Mr. Sproul, for a small company, breaking into the GSA schedule can be a daunting experience. What sort of assistance should be available to small firms to be listed on the schedule?
GSA should have dedicated assistance teams available to help small businesses through the process to become familiar with the requirements to work with the federal government and to expedite and facilitate the development of small business contracting.
Okay. Mr. Brown, currently GSA schedule are exempt from the small business provision of the federal acquisition regulation. Should small businesses set-asides be explicitly applied to GSA federal supply schedule programs?
I think if they're capable of carrying out the work and carrying out the contract, I don't see a problem with it. One of the things I would be hesitant about in regards to the federal supply schedule is that we also don't become completely reliant on the federal supply schedules to meet our goals. What happens, and I think we're starting to see some of that with the VA, is that they're concentrating on their goals through the federal supply schedule, and the folks and small businesses who don't may not operate with goods that would beyond the federal supply schedule are cut out of other contracts.
Do any of the other witnesses have any opinion on this matter? Mr. Woods?
The federal supply schedule does not apply to the architectural engineering field at all. We're selected on a qualifications-based method.
And with that, I recognize the ranking member.